enjoy watching your enemies cower from your hail of bullets, running recon for your team by taking out key targets, and swooping in to save allies from the brink of death, rejoice, brothers and sisters, for the Emperor provides. Hello fellow rejects, I'm Shaggy, and today I'll be running you through my suppressive Spitfire Infiltrator build for the Graya Braced Autogun. This build focuses around rapid-fire close-range damage and massive amounts of suppression to create huge windows of opportunity for yourself and your allies, by quickly and covertly eliminating and crowd-controlling key targets, while also being able to easily clutch losing situations. For the weapons, we will be using the Mark IV Dueling Sword and the Graya Braced Autogun. The Mark IV Dueling Sword is an easy answer for carapace armored enemies and boss damage, as well as an excellent source of movement for when we need to reposition. The Graya Braced Autogun puts out the highest bullets per second of any gun in the game, huge damage on targets in medium to close ranges, and also boasts the highest suppression in the game when using its unique braced fire. Darktide suppression mechanic isn't often valued by players because it is a crowd control tool that takes time to actually begin to have noticeable effects. However, because of the Graya's absolutely monstrous rate of fire, paired with the braced secondary fire's increased suppression rate, the mechanic goes from marginally to incredibly useful when up against packs of ranged enemies. Because of its minimal cleave, the Graya isn't the fastest at mowing down thick hordes, but it will absolutely shred whatever is directly in front of it while neutering heretics around your target. For these stats in both weapons, you'll want 80 in every stat, besides mobility. As you can see, mine is not perfect here, but hey, we work with what we can get. Our perks for the Dueling Sword are going to be Flak and Carapace, and for blessings we'll be taking Riposte and Uncanny Strike. The Graya itself struggles with big armored targets and bosses, so this will give us an easy answer to them. You may even consider swapping Flak for Unyielding to lean even more into the boss killing capabilities of the Dueling Sword, if you'd like. As for the Graya, we are taking the classic perks of Flak and Maniac, and Death Spitter and Fire Frenzy for blessings. This is a strong generalist setup that basically makes it so we'll be stacking buffs on our primary fire every time we kill heretics in close range, which we basically always will since we want to be relatively close to our targets in order to mow them down in our braced fire spread. And you really should be using the braced fire 99.9% of the time, as it puts out more damage suppression and actually gets more accurate the longer you fire it, as you can see here. For the Curios, we'll be taking a standard setup of 2 toughness and 1 stamina, with combat ability regen, toughness, and stamina regen as the perks. You can also consider revive speed or sprint speed if you'd like, but these 3 are just really good all-around perks. As for the talent tree, we are going down the right-hand side and picking up 1 motion for the extra swap speed whenever we need to quickly pull out our sword for those key armored targets before switching back to the Graya. Out for blood, which gives us 5% additional toughness back whenever we get a kill, so that's 10% on melee kills and 5% on ranged kills, which we will be getting a lot of. We also pick up tactical reload, which gives us 25% faster reload speed whenever there is a bullet left in our clip. It's very important to build up the muscle memory to reload before you run out of ammo to benefit from this talent, as it also helps us maintain our stacks of Death Spitter and Fire Frenzy, which otherwise would drop off every 3.5 seconds. While our Graya isn't half bad as far as ranged horde clear goes, we'd much rather be using it to take off angles and kill key targets rather than spraying into crowds of poxwalkers, and the Dueling Sword is more suited to single targets because of our blessings. The Shredders give us an easy horde clear option, an amazing panic button, and synergizes well with our ability to clutch runs when things start to go south. From here we grab Get Back in the Fight, just as an additional panic tool because we don't get much value from Catch a Breath, seeing as we'll usually be in range of enemies. We pick up Survivalist, just helping us with our ammo economy since this is a very gun-forward build. And then we go from here all the way across the talent tree, picking up Demo Stockpile on the way there. Very good for constant grenade regen there. Every 60 seconds we'll replenish one. And then from there we come over here and we pick up Grenadier. This will allow us an extra grenade, allowing us to carry 4 at a time. Basically, we want to make sure that we are always having Demo Stockpile providing value. So you always want to be below your max stacks of grenades, which in this case is 4. The other option here, Leave No One Behind, isn't bad on an Infiltrator build, but I prefer the extra safety that comes with having that extra frag grenade on hand. And then we grab Infiltrate, which is a highly underrated and often misused ability. When Infiltrate is activated, you will instantly turn invisible and refill your toughness. When coming out of stealth, you suppress everything around you, making it great at surprising packs of enemies, especially gunners and reapers. Infiltrate's value varies greatly depending on how you use it and which of these two ancillary nodes you take. We will be taking low profile, which decreases our threat by 90% after we come out of stealth for 10 seconds. Basically, this means that we'll have a lesser version of stealth that will allow us to attack and move about freely, and only aggro targets we shoot so long as we have allies around. For this reason, if we're taking low profile, we really need to be careful that we are not just dropping aggro on our team for no reason. To get the most out of Infiltrate on this build, you want to first play aggressively whenever Infiltrate is up. You want to take aggro and be dishing out damage up close where you get the most value. Once you've gained a lot of attention, have the enemy on top of you, and your toughness is either low or broken, that's your cue to hit Infiltrate. This will instantly refill your toughness and shift the enemy's attention from you to your allies, to make sure you're giving them enough space to work with before you drop a crowd on top of them. Again, this is why you should be trying to take off angles and playing closer to the horde, where you can get the most value instead of disappearing right next to your backline and screwing them over by dropping a mob on top of them. Once you are invisible, you have two options. You can either just take the time to reload your gun and get right back to spraying the enemy with your refilled toughness and near non-existent threat level, or even better, you can look to get a little spicy and reposition to key targets in the fight, such as specialists or large crowds of ranged enemies in the back, and quickly wipe them out while kiting along the outskirts of the crowd back towards your team before low profile drops. Keep in mind you'll be combining the suppression of Infiltrate with the massive suppression of the Graya to absolutely neuter ranged enemies. You can also throw your frag grenades for an easy opening when reviving downed allies. It is extremely important to put out as much value as you can and pop out of stealth as soon as possible so you can quickly capitalize on low profile. The more time you spend in stealth, the less time you're spending clearing the hordes and putting pressure on your teammates. You have to use this selfish ability as selfless as possible by quickly jumping out of stealth and using your advantage to mag dump targets your allies otherwise wouldn't be able to get. The power of Infiltrate comes from being able to analyze where you will get the most value. The only times you actually want to stay in stealth for a long time is when doing objectives or in clutch situations where you want to get your allies up or kite mobs in loops. So please folks, infiltrate responsibly, and don't worry if it takes you time to get used to the flow of getting the most out of this ability. It definitely takes a lot more game sense and skill to get value out of than other abilities in the game. Just remember, at the very least, it is a free toughness refill. I might end up making a video in the future on Infiltrate if anyone is interested, but hopefully that should clear things up on how it operates within the build. Because we're taking low profile, we can go ahead and skip on Hunter's Resolve. It provides 50% toughness damage reduction for 10 seconds. Because we're going to have so little threat generation, we really don't need that toughness damage reduction. So we'll go ahead and skip on that, though I will have builds in the future that focus more on Hunter's Resolve. And then we go ahead and we also skip over Surprise Attack here. It's 30% damage for 5 seconds, but the uptime is just too low for us to get a whole lot of value out of it. And then I also personally don't take Overwatch. I prefer to put myself in situations where I will pop Infiltrate pretty much all the time as soon as it comes up, meaning having 2 stacks doesn't really do a whole lot for me. It's better if you want to hold on to your stacks more for clutch situations or when you really need it, but if you're like me and enjoy spamming Infiltrate and using low profile a lot, you won't get as much value from the extra charge, and in fact lose value because it increases the cooldown of Infiltrate by 33%, bringing it from 45 seconds to a full minute. Okay, and then moving down here, we pick up Close Quarters Kill. It's 15% close damage for 10 seconds on combat ability use. Honestly, not a great node. I mean, we do get a lot of value out of it with how much we are spamming Infiltrate, but it doesn't make a huge difference. The problem is that we only really have a choice between Close Quarters Kill Zone and Reciprocity, and while Reciprocity is an excellent node, it's not that great on the braced autoguns who don't have great finesse scaling. Personally, I prefer Close Quarters Kill Zone just to help me mop things up during that 10 seconds when I'm in low profile, but you can really go for either one here. And then we grab Desperado, which is amazing for the dueling sword. It gives us 10% more critical hit chance on our melee, and also gives us 25% melee finesse bonus, which is better headshots, better critical hits, things like that. We come over here to the middle tree, and We pick up Keep Their Heads Down, which increases our ranged attack suppression by 50%, which is absolutely massive. Basically, this means that as soon as we start firing our gun towards any enemy that can be suppressed, they will automatically start cowering. As you can see here, we go ahead and brace it, which increases our suppression even more. Just like that, they're suppressed instantly. And then we pick up Tactical Awareness, and it's very important in any build, but especially this one, that we are maximizing the amount of time that we have Infiltrate up, Low Profile up, and just making sure that we're never in any danger of either being caught out of position without Low Profile running or without the toughness regen of Infiltrate ready. So just make sure that as you are navigating fights that you are getting as many kills on Specialists as you can. Okay, and then from here we do our standard setup. We grab Iron Will, 50% toughness damage reduction if above 75% toughness, always good. We come down here, pick up Bring It Down, which will help us with breakpoints with killing our big Ogren enemies. Great with our dueling sword. And then we come down here, we pick up our Keystone, which is Focus Target. Every 2 seconds, we will gain a stack of Focus Target up to a total of 5 stacks. Anytime that we tag an enemy, it applies all the stacks onto that enemy, debuffing them and making them take an extra 4% damage for each stack, up to a total of 20%. Basically, this just means that whenever we have something in front of us that we want to die, you want to tag it. And it just makes them die that much faster. And generally, the only time that we're going to be holding onto stacks is in situations with very beefy enemies that we want to get out of the way quickly, such as monstrosities, bosses, maybe there's a crusher that's really pissing you off. As you can see, 3 hits that time. If we apply our stacks, we were able to 2-shot at that time. But in general, I usually just spam this pretty much off of cooldown at whatever I'm looking at. We come over on the left side of the tree here, we pick up Precision Strikes. Not great for the Graya since we're not really getting a whole lot of weak spot damage, but it is great for our dueling sword, and in general it's just a really excellent node. And then we pick up Fully Loaded. Really helps with our ammo economy and synergizes nicely with Survivalist. And then we pick up Superiority Complex, which gives us 15% more base damage against elites, which is a vast majority of the enemies that we are going to be killing. Okay, for the pros of this build, we have solid DPS at mid to close ranges, absolutely monstrous amounts of suppression through our Braced Fire and Infiltrate. It's a dueling sword build, so that automatically solves any issues with big Carapace boys and boss damage. It can easily get in different positions to mop up high priority targets. It has absolutely massive amounts of clutch potential and panic buttons thanks to Infiltrate and frag grenades. And this build just has a very unique playstyle, playing as a sort of closer ranged, flanking, full auto recon sort of vet. It's kind of like a cross between the usual ranged veteran and a knife zealot, and it's just a lot of fun having those big pop-off moments where you pop up right next to a massive row of gunners and mow them all down, or have multiple Reapers cowering in fear while you spray them down with your Graya bullet hose. It's just generally very well rounded outside of a couple key weaknesses. So let's get to those. The cons of this build are that it struggles at long ranges. There may be times where your effectiveness is hampered because of long open sight lines where the enemies you want to get to are outside of your Graya's range and spread out in multiple areas where they can't be suppressed. The Graya and the dueling sword aren't great at dealing with hordes either, and this is why you want to often position on off angles for priority targets or clear out poxwalkers with grenades. And while its damage output is good, it's definitely not the highest in the game. This build's strength comes more from its utility more than its ability to mow down everything just by holding down left click. Alright guys, that is the Graya Suppressive Spitfire Autogun build. Honestly, one of my favorite builds to play because of its unique and skill-expressive Rambo playstyle. The braced autoguns really don't get as much love as they deserve. If you're looking for a mix-up from the standard autogun setup and enjoy scaring the shit out of your enemies while putting out hundreds of bullets per second, this build should have you covered. If you enjoyed this build, please leave a like, comment, and feel free to subscribe if you want more Darktide videos. I really wasn't expecting such a warm reception, so I really want to say thank you to everyone who subbed so far, and I hope to bring you some more unique build content soon. Now go out there and slay some heretics. Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday, guys.
Text scuttle my heretic hands. It is in agony.